Hello, this is C. Marshall, and these are my thoughts on Basement. Basement was born of a successful Kickstarter campaign in late 2014, and is now in early access on Steam for I think $9. Basement is a Tycoon game about dealing and making drugs, which initially was a problem for me, because I used to be addicted to Tycoon games. But I worked through it, even with this current climate where the Tycoon genre is making an emphatic return. The game is focused on the idea of expanding deeper into the ground and making tiny people create drugs while avoiding the tiny policemen. It's very early on, but the developers are doing very well with communicating. Every topic on the Steam forum seems to have a clear and level-headed response from the developer, which is always really cool. It's also pretty cheap for a PC game, but not for an iPhone game, which you'll immediately notice that Basement looks like an iPhone game. It feels like one too, and the game seems to already be built for touch screens, especially the main screen, which is locked vertically and scrolls smoothly horizontal, even maintaining momentum after a mouse movement. I know the game is planned to eventually appear on these platforms, but for the game to already be exhibiting behaviors like these is a bit disconcerting, along with the fact that they've already started trimming some of the complexity away, like the removal of turn-based battles and delivery management. Another odd thing is the lack of click feedback. For example, if you direct a character to a place, no confirmation appears that the game has accepted your order. No arrow or circle or color splash. It's weird, and feels a bit like punching the air or walking a step too far down a flight of stairs. The game's main objective is to make more money, and to do that you have to build rooms to develop intoxicants. The little rooms that make these drugs require a worker and a dealer. The workers can easily be hired from a little menu, and right now they all seem to have the same attributes, and they all cost the same. They all have a fee at hire and a fee that happens daily. But the fact that there is a reroll button on the bottom of this hiring menu makes it clear that this won't always be the case, and that they'll have random attributes to them, which might bring a bit more excitement into that area of the game. The rooms also will eventually be able to be upgraded to make cleaner, better, and more expensive drugs. These drugs are picked up by a little truck that automatically transfers them to a dealer who then sells them after a short period of time. To sell a specific drug, you need a specific dealer, so weed can only be sold by weed dealers and so on. The challenge here is that you actually have to fight to take these dealers back from police custody, with increasing difficulty as the drugs get more valuable. You do this with bodyguards who you hire in a similar fashion to the drug makers, and that's really it. There are a lot of little systems hiding underneath, but as it is right now, it's remarkably simple. The biggest challenge in the game right now is maintaining a stable flow of money while trying to fend off the cops. But after about an hour of play, it loses steam and isn't much fun anymore. This is predominantly just because there isn't much content to sustain a long time playing, but there are also some problems that are worth noting. The biggest are the cops themselves. After taking a building from the cops, they constantly raid locations at random, and to get rid of them, you either have to bribe them or fight them. Currently, it's much easier to bribe than fight, and it's often safer to do so because if the cops win the hilarious little fist fight, they take the building back, which slices off a chunk of possible revenue. As expected, the wider your empire grows, the more susceptible to attack you become. It's extremely hard to balance difficulty and fun with this kind of stuff in Tycoon games. Currently, the cops are very close to being more irritating than challenging. This can lie behind the randomness and complete inability to outgrow their pestering. It's a Sisyphean task, and it's really tiring not being able to fight back in any way, only being able to wait and pray you have the resources when they strike. I'd love to start being able to spend the money that I make to build rooms that protect my buildings or at least add more offensive capabilities. This complaint ties to the actual act of dealing the drugs as well. The AI behind the drug pickup is a mess. You have to depend on trucks to pick up and drop off what you make. You can't make these trucks, you have to capture them, so there is already a finite amount at the start of each session. Even worse is you can't direct them in any way, and it's impossible to manage the logistics behind their deliveries. Thank God the cops can't stop them in their travels, but regardless, it's not cool to have such an integral part of the money making being handled by the AI. The developers have tried tried to streamline it as much as possible. In a previous version, you were able to actually order your trucks about. Now they function in the background. It's easier, but certainly not the better solution to the problem. I'd much rather have the option for both, like let them do their thing if you don't want to deal with it or if your empire is too big, but also have the ability to turn off this automatic functioning if you want to schedule it to your own liking. Basement is a hilarious idea, and it's part of a Tycoon world that has never really been entirely explored. The game is at a dangerous crossroad, and the developers have already made some decisions that could lead them down either way. I would love to see this game stack on some more complexity, with streamlining being placed in areas that aren't so fundamental to the growth of your legal kingdom, but because they have already expressed plans to move into the mobile market, it can be a bit frightening. Right now I can't recommend Basement, and more than a lot of early access games I've played recently, this one seems especially unnecessary for what could have easily been a free demo, which would have also gotten them a ton more feedback and suggestions. I love Tycoon games, especially ones that remind me of Carosoft games, and I love a lot of Basement's ideas, so I'm excited to check back in on this game a few months from now. If my opinions change in any major way with later updates or more time spent with the game, I'll release another episode regarding it. Thank you so much for watching.